Well, welcome back to another video. If this is your first time stopping in, thank you for joining me. Today I am going to be going over some things with you guys that I really didn't want to do. Even during the process of all of these things happening, I told myself I wasn't going to make a video on this. Going over my bike after I got it back from the dealer, I finally had my breaking point where I decided that I was going to bring some of these things to light, and so we're going to jump right on in. All right, well, let's get right on into it. I want to start by saying that I in no way think that I am more important than anyone. I'm a guy with 4,000 YouTube followers, which I appreciate every single one of you, but I am not anyone special, nor do I want to be. I've always said I'd love to be rich and not famous. I want nobody to know who I am, and I just want to live my life and, how on my terms, have fun with it, right? That's what we all want to do. The American dream, right? So, having said that, I do believe that under certain circumstances, a company should go the extra mile to make something right when the circumstances call for it. So, I'm not going to name the dealership that this experience happened with because I have the utmost respect for the owner of the dealership. When I purchased this motorcycle from a different one of his dealerships, because he owns multiples, he washed my bike in front of me, hand washed it himself. He's got guys around that are, they could have washed it, but he did it himself. And I think that's freaking badass because this guy, he's doing it right, and he doesn't have to wash the bike, but he did. And I think that's freaking awesome, So I have a lot of respect for that. When I see somebody like that, I'm like, that's cool, dude. So this is an industry-wide problem. This is not a problem specific to this dealership. This is existent in the motorcycle world, in the car world, in any trade, anywhere. In every corner of every industry, this type of situation exists. And I'm shedding light on it to heed warning to you guys to really consider who you do business with and who you trust to work on your things. So getting into it, my 2024 Harley Davidson Road Glide ended up having some manufacturer defects that resulted in some electrical issues and ended up leaving me stranded. So on my way to work, I had a cam sensor failure code appear and the bike shut off. During that week, which I work 6 hours away, so when I'm gone from work now, I'm gone, and this is my method of transportation while I'm there. The bike shut off me multiple times, and it was not a fun experience. But that's okay. Things happen, and they can be made right. So I contact the Harley Davidson dealership, and I say, hey, I need to bring my bike in for a service and figure out what's going on with it. I told them some of the symptoms, and they said, okay, we'll get you in. That was during my work week. And they scheduled me for my first day off, which was July 24th, Wednesday. They said, hey, bring it in, 9 a.m., we'll need the bike for 2 hours. We're blocking out a 2-hour window to do this diagnostic on it, and we will go from there. I said, perfect. I show up at 9 o'clock, and he says, the guy at the service desk, okay, so you're leaving the bike for the day? I said, no. I wrote it here, and I figured I'd grab some parts, some stuff to do an oil change, catch up on some thrashing videos, on YouTube, and, while you guys do your thing, and, you said a 2-hour window, so I'm going off of what you said. And he said, well, normally you drop it off for the day. And I said, however long you need to take to do you guys' thing. I'm glad that you guys are able to do this. I appreciate it. And, you guys got benches out front. I'm glad I'm not at work. I'll go lay in the sun, it's cool. Okay, cool, thanks. Yep, cool. So they take the bike back there, they do their thing, they end up spending 3 hours on it. And they diagnosed that it is a bad main wiring harness, and Harley Davidson corporate shut them down after 3 hours, said, stop looking for the short, we're going to send you a whole new main wiring harness, and you guys are going to install that because it makes more sense. And okay, that's the way that it goes nowadays. Fine. So they tell me that it will be 3 to 14 days to get the new main wiring harness. That's great. I'm glad that they can get one that quick. I've heard of sometimes replacement parts taking months to get. So I said, okay, sounds good. How are we going to do that? They said, harness shows up, we'll call you right away, we'll get you in right away, and we'll need the motorcycle for the day. And I said, well, I might be at work when the harness shows up. And they said, that's fine. We can pick the motorcycle up and drop it off if we have to. I said, wow, that's awesome. Thank you. So I wait for a call, and the call never comes. So 2 weeks go by, and I'm talking with my buddy, and he's like, dude, call him. What do you call him? So I call him up on August 7th, 2 weeks later, that Wednesday in the afternoon, and I ask if my harnesses showed up. And they say, oh, yeah, it's been here. I said, oh, okay. So when can you guys get me in? And they say, oh, well, we're pretty busy, so we can probably get you in next week, which would then be the 13th, Tuesday. And I said, that doesn't work for me. I go back to work that Tuesday. I am gone for a week, and the following day I leave on a 5-day motorcycle trip. 400 miles the first day down to Southern Oregon, meet my uncle coming up from Sacramento. Then we're going to ride all over Northern California, Southern Oregon, and then we're going to ride PCH up. Probably a 1,000-mile ride plus. Yeah, definitely more than that, actually. And I need to know that the bike's right. I need to put a couple of 100 miles on it before then, taking it to work that week before I leave, so that I know that the bike is right and trustworthy to do that. And he says, well, what do you expect me to tell everybody that's got appointments that your bike's more important? And I said, well, no, I don't think that my bike's more important, or I take priority over them. But this is a special circumstance. This is not an oil change appointment or a speaker upgrade appointment that I made weeks ago, like they did. This is a manufacturer defect on a motorcycle that you guys sold me, and I believe that you guys should be doing everything you can to make it right. If I owned this dealership, I would want my personnel to represent it in a manner such as like, hey, your harness is in. When can we get you in, brother? We want to get you back on the road as soon as possible. And that's not how this went down. And I still was like okay with it in a way. Like it's like, I don't love the way that I'm being treated, but it is what it is. And I said, that's just not going to work for me. I would like to bring it in tomorrow, and if you guys can work it in, that'd be really good. And I explained the circumstances as to why, and he said, fine, bring it in tomorrow, and hangs up on me. Okay, that's not too professional, but all right, maybe he's having a bad day, right? So bring the bike in the following day, and he tells me, okay, we're going to knock it out by Saturday, that day after I dropped it off. Yeah, so, okay, cool. So that Saturday, nobody calls me. It's getting near the end of the day. I call, oh yeah, your bike's been done. Come grab it. Okay, thanks for, again, the lack of communication for the third time now. And so I asked him when I showed up, I said, so, you threw a bunch of attitude at me when I wanted to get my bike in right away after the harness has been waiting there, when you're the one that told me that, we'll get you right in right away when the harness shows up. Why didn't we make an appointment 2 weeks ago to do this if that's, you guys are busy and that's how it was going to need to be? And he said, well, we don't like to make appointments ahead of time because, parts sometimes take longer than what we think to get. And I said, well, you said 3 days to 2 weeks, right? 14 days. So why didn't we schedule it for the furthest out, right? 14 days. And if it didn't show up, you've got an open window for something else. Because guess what? Like, we know that's going to happen, right? That's just good planning, right? I work on ships where, your planning, keeps the boat moving or not, right? Like, you have to have some foresight. And as the service, I would assume manager, because he's at the front desk every time I go in there, I would expect him to have that kind of a foresight and a handle on what he's got going on there. And that just didn't seem to be the case. So, all things that can be dealt with, it's fine, whatever. I was happy to have my bike back. I swing my leg over it, and I notice right off the bat that the windshield bolts are loose. And I'm like, well, that's, okay. Can I borrow a T25 or 27 and we'll tighten those up? Yeah, sure, no problem. Cool. So thank you. And then I sit on it, and I go to back up, and I notice all of the retaining clips for this little plastic piece on the inside are hanging out because this was clipped on improperly. And I'm starting to feel a little bit like this was a rush job now. I'm like, doesn't look so good. Like, okay, whatever. And I pull it off and I clip it on correctly and back my bike down to my buddy. And as I'm turning the wheel, it hits my chin spoiler down here because this was not clipped in to the rubber grommet. So now I'm really starting to kind of be uncomfortable with this whole thing because, as an engineer, I have a lot of integrity in the work that I do. And seeing someone not on your things, especially when I have that sort of a pride in my things, really feels crappy, right? So I get the bike home and I notice that the speaker grills are like cocked and the rubber gasket is folded under and all of the tabs are broken. All of the plastic tabs are broken. So they're like sloppy as hell. And it's like, who worked on this thing? Like what kind of craftsmanship and give a shit about your work ethic is going into my prized possession here, man? Like what? And that was kind of the breaking point for me where I was like, everything else, I was like, you know what? It's not even worth talking about. Experience is over, move on. And now I'm to the point where I don't feel comfortable about the work that was done on my motorcycle. I don't know what else I'm going to find if I look under that seat and under the tank and under this fairing here. Are there broken tabs? Are there broken clips? Did this guy just impact all the bolts in and hopefully they're all tight? Like at this point, I hate the feeling that I have about somebody else working my motorcycle. And I've always kind of felt that way. My truck, I do all my own fluid changes and services and all of my own work because I don't trust other people to do as good a job as I will. Now, having said that, if there's something that I can't do that I know is in over my head, like building that 10-speed transmission in that truck, I don't know how and I'm not going to. I'm going to pay someone to do it. But if I can do basic things myself, I will. And it just goes to show that nobody's going to do as good a job as you if you're able to do that job. So really consider who you bring your things to and for what, because I'm left with a pretty crummy feeling, a bad taste in my mouth over this whole experience. The lack of communication from the service department, being told that they were going to call me and then they don't, being told that they'll get me right in and then flipping the script on me on that. The whole process just sucked, and I really hope that I don't have to go back to that service department for any reason ever. And that's not something that you want to feel with a brand new motorcycle that's under warranty that needs work done by them every once in a while because things happen, right? So this video, as I said, is not to make this dealership look bad. This video is to give you guys the information and hopefully lead you guys to consider carefully who you let work on your motorcycle and hopefully stop you guys from having a similar experience. This is, as I said, something that occurs in a lot of the different industries. I have friends that have, been busy on job sites, so they've taken their trucks in to get oil changes done for them, and drain plugs get left loose, and $15,000 diesel engine blown up. Like, just things that should not be happening, and it's usually never made right, and usually it's on the end consumer who's spending their hard-earned money to deal with the pain and frustration of the situation. So that's pretty much it. It might seem horrible to some. It might seem like, oh, I'm just complaining over nothing to some. But for me, I am a big believer in, if it comes into you in a certain form, it should come back to me in that same form. I shouldn't get the bike back with broken pieces and half-assed craftsmanship. It's just, there's no excuse for it. These are licensed, Harley Davidson techs. So if you're watching this and you're the guy that worked my bike, I hope that you do a better job next time on somebody else's things. And beyond that, I hope that this video helps some people out. I hope that it doesn't affect anyone negatively within the circumstance, being the service department manager or employee. just hope that if you guys see this, that you consider representing the business a little bit better in the future. But I think that's about it. So do what you will with this information. I appreciate you guys watching, supporting me in this channel. I hope that my transparency with everything throughout this entire ownership process is helpful to you guys. If it is, please leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will catch you guys in my next off week. Hopefully we'll be getting some good motorcycle content in, and less of this kind of down in the dump stuff. So catch you guys later.